Hello and welcome back to Tend to Thrive. I'm Abigail and Cassidy is going to be leading us on a conversation about indecision and buyer's remorse and how making decisions and then after you've made the decision, how you feel about it, how all of that plays into our day-to-day lives and how the Lord fits right into that decision-making process.
Right. I wouldn't even say that I'm leading this conversation. I think it's a good...
This is a good tag team one, I think.
Yes, I think so too. And we are figuring out that we are very opposite.
Yes.
With how we make decisions.
Notes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so maybe you're in the middle of deciding which college to go to, or maybe you're like, okay, should we sell our house? Should we move? Those are like really big decisions. Or maybe it's the smaller decisions of which vacuum do I need to buy for my home?
Oh my goodness.
Or which mouse I need for my computer.
You know, our vacuum went down, and so we just went through that. But thankfully, Trevor took the lead on it, and he was really fast because he's like you. He's able to make those fast
this one looks
decisions.
Good enough. Buy it.
Yes. I started like plunging into researching and analyzing, and he was like, let's just do this one. And I was like,
are you sure?
Well, at this point, we haven't had a working vacuum for like over a month.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, the one you're looking at is more affordable. We know it's a good one because it's what we used to have. And so we went for it. And I'm happy. I'm so happy. So I'm glad he made that decision. But the vacuum thing, very real.
Yeah, vacuum decisions. There's so many options going on. But before we dive into a couple different questions, we came up with our own value system to how to make decisions. Like, what's the scale for making decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, when it comes to making a decision, we all have our own value systems. And even though Cassidy and I's decision process might look really different, our values are very, very similar. And so probably we're right in line on this. You might find that you have a different value system, and that's really going to lead how you make your decisions. But in general, that's going to navigate the decision. So at our top, we've got faith, family, finances, the quality of it. How does my leisure fit into it? Accessibility. Those priorities are really going to play a role when it comes to what decision am I going to make. If you really maybe you value the finances even a little higher than the quality. Sometimes I fall into that where I'm just trying to find the absolute best deal.
Right.
But then I read the reviews and I'm like, oh no. And so then it sends me spiraling into the next what if, which brings us into, we've got really two big types of decision makers. We've got the maximizer and we have the satisficer. These two approaches, and Cassidy and I are in opposite camps. So it turns out that there's a name and a camp for everything, apparently, but more than likely you're going to fall into one of these two categories. So a maximizer, they like to analyze and research every possible option and the outcome, attempting to maximize your decision and find the perfect result of what's going to give you the best bang for your buck, what's going to last the longer, what's going to make me the happiest. Versus the satisficer, they're able to really quickly review what are my current facts, what are my options in front of me, and they take what's good from those choices. Sometimes it's not even what's best, but they're going to look and say, hey, this is a good option. This is a solid option. We're going to be satisfied with this. Studies have actually shown that while maximizers on paper often make good or even better decisions, unfortunately, they're prone to higher discontentment and buyer's remorse. And I can feel this. Typically, it's due because they feel like, oh no, maybe I did still miss out on something else. Maybe I didn't make the best decision. Or what can happen is they can take so long making decisions that they end up costing a lot of money in time or missing really good deals that have passed by. And it takes a lot of energy and brain power. And so in the end, we've got these two different groups. Both of them make really good decisions, but you know, there's pros and cons to both. I would say that in general, it's probably better to be a satisficer for most things.
Maybe even landing in the middle.
Yeah, if you can kind of land in the middle. And as we were really studying into this and as I was researching, that's kind of what they say is, in general, you want to be a satisficer for your everyday decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But if you make really long-term decisions, that's where more of that maximizer quality. But that's something
so interesting. I was trying to decide where I'm at on the spectrum of indecision, making decisions, and I was like, I think I'm pretty fast at making decisions. I was helping someone clean out their garage the other day, and they kept holding up stuff and debating, should I keep this? Should I throw it away? And I'm like, you need to just do this with it. And item after item, they're like, wow.
How are you doing that?
You're really fast at making decisions. And I was like, oh, I guess I am. And it was interesting that we were talking about that this week, about, indecisions. Well, if you want to paint your house, I'll be like, yes, I'll be there tomorrow. Like, let's just do it. Get the supplies. We're doing it tomorrow. And I wanted a guinea pig. I really wanted another furry animal. And I was getting ready to go get the stuff. I was doing research for what was good. But I was like, yes, let's do it. And then I was like, oh, I got to ask my husband. And he was like, no. I was like, oh, man, I had this in my mind. I was going to do it. Just making decisions,
Yep.
And that's kind of how I run my everyday is like, I really think we should do this. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, you are definitely a doer, get things doneer, which is great because sometimes I'm that way where I'm like, okay, we're going to go for it. But when it comes to like decision making and especially buying things, I am a put my head in the sand kind of girl where it's like, I'm just not going to make any decision at all. And it's terrible. It really is that. I will tell you, that is not a good way to live your life.
Yeah. I think I don't know of any specific circumstances, but I do remember being stuck in indecision. It's absolutely awful. Fatigue starts to keep setting into your brain. And you're like, I can't do this. It's overwhelming. Abigail, do you have a specific example of I couldn't decide about this?
Yeah, I mean, so we redid our home in the last year. And so there were a million home decisions and colors and materials and things. And that whole process was so exhausting and draining for me, especially for those big ticket items. It needs to be perfect forever. I cannot make a mistake. And so those types of things really, really are hard for me. Any kind of long-term commitment things. So even we're talking about getting fruit trees and plants, and we've already got a number of fruit trees, but we're talking about getting a couple more. And it's like, well, where do we put it? Because we want this to live forever.
Can't move it.
So, right. And so those are things that really are tough for me.
Well, I was trying to make two different categories for how do I make decisions so easily. And I think I like to call it my mind palace. I don't know if you've ever watched Sherlock before. He calls it his mind palace, and I think that's absolutely hilarious. And so my mind palace has two different categories, I think, of making decisions. The first one is, this is a fine decision to act on in the moment. It's a good thing. It's a godly thing, whatever. It's fine.
Right.
It's the everyday decisions. That's in category number 1.
Yes.
Category number 2 is the long-term decisions. It's going to affect my family in some way. It's impacting other people. It's going to, our family schedule, all of that. That's category number 2. So category number 1 is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're going to make the decision and it's not going to have any big
bearing. Yeah. It might be the wrong decision, but it's okay. We're going to survive.
Right. And so I guess I kind of spoiled my motto for either category. It's asking yourself, is this a good thing? Is this a godly thing? Is this fine? Does my husband agree? All those are the motto to making a decision. And if it fits into that, it's okay, make the decision. We're going to go for it.
Absolutely. Ecclesiastes 4:6 says, better is a handful with quietness than both the hands full with travail and vexation of spirit. And that's the King James version. And I just think that is perfect. And that kind of goes back to that maximizer mindset where now I've vexed over this, I've travailed and struggled over this, and I might have two hands full, but I'm not satisfied, versus, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to move forward. I know that this is acceptable in God's sight, in my family's sight, and we're all happy.
Even when there's a little bit of hesitation about indecision, overthinking things, sometimes you have to kick your brain into gear and just say, we're going to take a step of faith and we're going to try something. And what if it doesn't work out? Like, those are questions that can come into your mind. So we're going to cover that a little bit later. But my next question right now is, what about making the decisions that land in the category of, this is something that could be a life-altering decision, and it could impact my family as a whole and others. So how do you make these harder, deeper decisions?
Yeah, and I think that takes us back to the value system. Where does this fall according to my relationship with the Lord? How does this affect my family? How is this going to affect our finances? What is the quality of this adjustment or this decision? Does it play into our leisure? Does that matter here? And then, how accessible is this really? How reasonable is this?
Right. A couple of different thoughts here. First thing is, you hear people debating over whether to put their kids in sports all the time. And their decision on it is, well, what's most important to our family? And a lot of times it comes down to, does the sports events happen on Sunday?
Yeah.
And so that can be a deciding factor of, okay, in your family, is Sunday more important for church or for sports? And so you're going to have to decide this one or that one. And so whichever one takes the hierarchy, so church would be for our family. If the sporting event lands on a Sunday, you can't partake in that sports thing. So that's something that we can have a conversation together with our husbands and deciding what is our priorities, right?
Yeah. And I like that you put that in, because, you know, at first when you were talking about life-altering decisions, and then you mentioned like taking your kids to sports, my initial thought was like, that's not life-altering. But then getting into it, it's like, no, it really alters your day-to-day life, your schedule,
Right.
and, you know, even your family dinner times, and what does that dynamic look like? So it absolutely is. And I think that's good to point out, because that is a decision I think a lot of people don't put into life altering, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's the thing to do.
Yeah, right.
Without realizing like, no, it's really going to change how your family looks.
I had heard someone talking on Instagram the other day. I mean, you hear everybody talk, but they're pointing out the fact about sports, and they're like, where does this fit into the map of things eternal? And they're like, this really isn't anything. Like, they're not going to be an NFL star.
You don't know that, Cassidy.
See? But, like, you're putting priorities.
Yes.
And so make the decision based off of our values, priorities. But something that I could do from home for my family, it's working on a computer. And I was doing this part-time from home. It was really nice to have extra cash coming in. And I could do this when the kids were napping, when they're going to bed. And I was spending multiple nights even staying up far later than I should. I really need my rest, and it was ruining my days when I couldn't get enough sleep. And Alex saw me working hard, staying up late. He's like, hey, honey, like, you really don't have to do this.
Yeah.
Like, we are really okay if you don't. And I'm like, no. Like, I got this. I'm fine. I'm going to work on my time management and get this under control.
Yeah.
And it was literally 3 days later of me automatically saying, like, no, it's fine. I got this. God put something into my lap that I could pass it on to somebody else.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my word, like, this feels like a God thing because I was too stubborn to give this up. Right. And I was like, no, it's fine. And that was an example where I went immediately into my personal stores of, I can handle this, I got this, instead of going to God and being like, hey, is this something that we need for our family right now? Or is this something that I should give away or because I felt so guilty giving up this wonderful opportunity. Like, who gets to do a part-time thing working from home?
Yeah.
Really super easy. And God just kind of was like, you know what, here's your way out. And I was like, I think I need to take the way out, Alex. And he was like, wow, you changed your mind so fast. I told him this story, and making that decision should have been going back to my priority list. I think it was coming above my family. It was taking up too much time. Alex and I used to have date nights in where we would choose a game for playing a board game, and those completely disappeared. Like, I think I should have been looking at the value list a little bit closer, for one, and for two, I should have asked God what he thought about the situation, and I was grateful that he provided a way out when it wasn't the thing for our family anymore.
Yeah. And even when you're not making exactly the right decisions, or you try something for a little while, the Lord is so gracious in that way where he says, okay,
Like, it's time.
I still have that option. Here we go.
Yeah, and so I just thought that was an interesting decision-making thing that I just recently went through.
Yes. So then, as a follow-up and secondary question to this, what if you prayerfully seek out God's will in an area? You think it's the right decision to go, but then there's some kind of resistance. Do you feel like, okay, that resistance is my sign, I need to just give up? Or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel a couple of different things about this, because if you feel very strongly that God is leading you to do something, like maybe it's specifically in a ministry, and what if that feels all of a sudden really hard? Do you think you should just quit? Like, I don't think you should just quit. I think that there is a point of perseverance in something. But what if you feel fairly confident that this is where God has led you, and it feels really difficult and suddenly very resistant? And I think, for one, maybe it's the enemy trying to stop your forward progress. I think that could be something. We surely aren't promised an easy life. Psalm 34 is very quick on my mind with memorizing it. So Psalm 34:19 talks about, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. So you could think about the resistance in that way, is that maybe this is an affliction of a sinful world. Maybe this is the enemy trying to stop forward progress. But what if it is the Lord trying to say, hey, like, it's time to be done?
Yeah. And I think that, again, that can be helpful, of going back to your value system and saying, hey, how does this line up? How do the people that are closest to me, how are they affected by this? How do they feel about this? And yeah, that can be a very, very tricky thing. And I think that we've probably all felt right decisions with a lot of resistance and really struggled with this of, God, what am I supposed to do? And continuing to go to the Lord in prayer and continuing. And I do think that some of it is the peace that he gives you.
Yeah.
You know, as you're going through and you're feeling resistance on the outside, there should be some kind of peace that's coming from the Lord.
And if you still feel some indecision and not having peace about something, maybe it's bringing in someone else into the conversation of, hey, can you look at my situation and help me pray through this?
Yeah.
I think that would be wise to bring someone else into that too.
Absolutely.
But as we continue on, here's our next question. What do you do with day-to-day decisions? Like, should I buy the vacuum? Or such and such? Should I buy this and that? So what does day-to-day decisions look like, Abigail?
Okay, well, again, for me, and maybe if you're listening, you're in the same boat where you're like, oh yeah, I'm super indecisive. I have a really hard time making basic decisions. This is from Psychology Today. We don't endorse everything that they have, but they do have some, helpful resources. So I'm going to read their 3 bullet points from this article. Number 1, the satisficing rule. Instead of looking for the best possible option, look for the first option that meets your preset requirements. Once you find it, stop looking. So again, in your value system, does this option fit all of my values? Oh, it does. Okay, I don't need to keep looking. Their second point is the 70% rule. If you're 70% sure of a decision, make it. The time that you save by not chasing that extra 30% of certainty is more valuable than the marginal gain of a perfect choice. And this especially fits with those day-to-day, not so important decisions. Should I buy this brand of chicken or that brand of chicken? You would be amazed how long it takes me shopping sometimes. So I started doing more of online pickup. And then their third point that they make is the post-decision lockdown. Once the choice is made, stop researching. Delete your tabs, stop looking at the better options that you might have missed out on, and put your energy into making your current choice work.
I love that 70-30 rule is like, it doesn't have to be perfect, just okay.
Yeah. Well, and it's so funny because in general, I am not a perfectionist by nature at all. But when it comes to making decisions, suddenly this little perfectionist comes out of me that drives me crazy.
I'm suddenly realizing that indecisions is a lot of overthinking spiral. That's pretty tough. Another question, what if you bought the said thing that you thought you decided on, and then now you have buyer's remorse?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think that it really is getting your heart right. The Bible has so much to say on being content. And even leading up to the decisions, I think that sometimes, I know for me, it can take me so long to make a decision because I want the best and the most perfect, and I don't want somebody else to say, oh, that was the wrong decision. Mine is better. And it, at some point, it almost does become a pride thing.
Yeah.
And, in the moment, I might not realize that, but I do think that that is part of it, at least for me. Hebrews 13:5 says, let your conversation be without covetousness and be content with such things as you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. 1 Timothy 6:8 says, and having food and raiment, let us therewith to be content. Again, that list says, stop looking, be content. This is something that really recently I recognized that I needed to do. I don't even remember what it was that I was looking for, but I had, researched the wazoo out of something. I bought it, and it was a bigger purchase. But after I bought it, I kept looking. I kept seeing like, oh no, I'll bet I made a mistake. I'll bet there's something better out there. I just need to look. I need to look and see. And I, thankfully I caught myself and I realized like, what am I doing? How ridiculous is this that I'm continuing to punish myself over something that I already have? It's done. I want to always make sure that I actually have it. But you know what? This is only going to make me more discontent. It isn't helpful. It isn't edifying. It's bad for you mentally, but it's bad for you spiritually. It goes completely against what God's word has to say. And I do think that that's another one of those sneaky things that Satan does with our personality, where so many of the sin attributes that we might carry around, we like to blame like, oh, that's just my personality. Yeah. I just fall into that type. Well, it's like, no, God is here to sanctify us and he's making us into a new creation.
Yeah, I love that point. It's just the way that I am. And it's like, well, God can still work through you to better that. You're not just stuck there.
Right. We can mature out of those things. Kind of one more additional thought on this. I do not remember where it's from, so I'm sorry, I can't give credit to anyone. But they were saying that the more expensive and better quality items often end up rated slightly lower than the cheaper items that aren't as good quality or maybe are dupes. And one of the reasons for that is that individuals who pay higher prices for things, they tend to have higher standards. And so they're going to say like, I paid X amount of money and I expect the greatest quality. So my, $1,000 Dyson vacuum it doesn't quite have every feature that I want. I'm a little discontent, even though it's an excellent vacuum and it works great, you know? And then another reason for it is individuals who pay less are a lot more likely to say something like 5 stars for the price point, or it does the job for what I paid. And so then they'll give pretty good reviews, even though it's not as great of a product. And then the third point is more affordable options often have more buyers, which leads to more reviews. And then you kind of get this safety in numbers mindset, even though the product might not be as good.
Wow. I've never noticed that take on products like that before, but that is so helpful in looking at reviews.
So again, if your value system and the finances is pretty high up there, that is something to think about, is how reviews and mindsets can definitely get swayed when it comes to those types of things.
Great. This has been a really super interesting conversation. And I want to bring in one final hope piece for you here at the end. And I was pausing to think through indecision and how it can bring in so much fatigue. And maybe you're like, where's the hope in all of this?
Yeah.
And so I want to feed you some hope that we can cling on to. And we have the hope in God, knowing that he never struggles in making a decision. And he never stands over our life with the pen author of the story there, like, I wonder if this is going to be the right decision. Let's find out, and scribble it down and go. And I'm so grateful that God has no indecision, no decision fatigue.
Right.
He's over it all. I was reminded of the omni characteristics, like omnipotent, omniscient. I'm going to go through them in just a second if you don't know what I'm talking about. But I love how they all work together. None of them contradict the other one. And I was reading through a theology book about the omni characteristics, but I got so excited about them and seeing them in a new light. And so I want to bring my excitement about his characteristics, just a few of them here, and remind you about them. I even included these just briefly in our devotional book, Pursuing Joy, because I was so excited about them. And so I hope it can encourage you today. Omnipotence. God is all-powerful. He possesses unlimited power to create, sustain, control all things, meaning there's nothing too hard for him. There's no limit in what he can do. Omniscience. He's all-knowing. He has perfect, infinite knowledge of the past, present, future, including human thoughts, motives, every detail. Omnipresent. He's everywhere present. He's not limited by space or physical dimensions and is present with his whole being, every point of the universe. These are two that aren't typically included in the omnis. Omnibenevolence. God is all good, all loving. His nature is entirely characterized by perfect moral purity, grace, boundless love towards his creation. And then this one blew my mind. Omnisapience, the capacity to apply that knowledge in the best possible way, acting with flawless judgment. And that one in particular, pin that in here. He never struggles with making a decision. He knows what is absolutely best for us, no matter the circumstances. And he applies all of these things together, all knowing, all present, all powerful, and they're all perfect. How mind-blowing is that? It's like, this is pretty basic characteristics of God, but I'm mind-blown still by the fact that, oh, thank goodness. He's in control and I'm not, and he can make decisions in the best way.
And that is so rewarding to remember, especially when you might be in the middle of a really big decision or even a really small decision and you're just feeling stuck, is remembering, hey, I am in this finite little area and my infinite God is over all, and he has no error in his judgment. He has no mar in his character. He is in control and I can go to him and I don't need to fret. I don't need to worry. The Bible has so much to say about not being anxious and not being so concerned, but instead, Proverbs chapter 16 verses 1-3 is a great place to go when it comes to committing your thoughts to the Lord. committing your works to the Lord, and he'll direct your thoughts and he'll establish them, and how comforting that is.
Yes. I wanted to close this out with the Song of the Week and a little bit of a summary of the Song of the Week. So this one is called Even, in parentheses, I'll Still Praise. And this one was sung by Mass Anthem Genevieve Linkowski. And your quick summary for this one is, I think that it just fits very well into conversation. Maybe not specifically with the lyrics, but I was listening to it while I was reviewing the notes. I was like, wow, that's going to be a great Song of the Week. It says, even if hope feels gone, still I'll sing. You'll never change your ways, so why should I be afraid? Even if all seems lost, still I'll praise. Everything I thought that I needed, I counted as nothing. If it's not for your glory, my mistakes have been conquered at the cross, so I'm going to trust you. I was like, wow, that really is interesting in the fact of indecision. Even if it's something that I thought that I needed, Jesus is still more. But if you feel like, oh my word, I made the biggest mistake, I just wasted half my bank account on something, all hope is not lost.
Right.
And still I'll sing. It says, you'll never change your ways. God is always infinitely the same, and something, a hope to cling on to in indecision. So that's what I have for you guys.
Hey, it's Abigail. Find us on Instagram at 10.thrive and leave us a comment. Give us a take it or leave it. Let us know if you found any fruit in this episode or if we got a little lost in the weeds.